Hey mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So welcome to the hood. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing out there? If y'all doing all right, say amen. I pray that you are having a great day so far, a great week so far. I'm so happy to be here today, and I am I have been looking forward to discussing this topic for the last few days now. So I'm excited I get a chance to record it now. But before we get into today's episode, you already know how it go. We got to pay the bill around here. Amen. So the Empowered Mama Planner, right? So I've been talking about it. Maybe you've seen it on Amazon, but it's in your cart and you haven't pushed that buy button yet. It is still available on Amazon right now. The Empowered Mama Planner is a planner that I created just for moms to help you with your planning, to help you get on track with self-care, get on track with your money. It has budgeting tips, it has self-care tips. It also has a goal planner so you can plan out your whole 12 months. And it has mom affirmations for you every month. So every time you start a new month, it has a set of new mom affirmations. And also, too, this planner is undated. So you can pick it up at any time. The planner meets you where you are. So it is undated, so you can fill in the months and the days whenever you get the planner. So your new year doesn't always have to start January 1st. Amen. It can start whenever you want it to. And it also has a love letter from me to you. And at the back of the planner, it has self care and money saving challenges because not only is it important to take care of our finances and our pocketbooks for the betterment of our families and our children, but also, too, it's important to take care of ourselves. It's important to prioritize self care. And no, I'm not talking about spending money on BS that you don't need, or bubble baths sitting in bath water and waiting for it to get cold. And I'm not talking about that type of self-care. But if that's your type of self-care bag, then I'm not judging. But that's really not what I'm talking about when it comes to self-care. I'm really talking about self-care from the inside out, doing things that will fulfill you and actually give you a sense of purpose. Amen. So if you haven't already, the journal is available on Amazon. I will have it linked in the show notes if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you are listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, it will be linked in the description. Amen? Okay. All right. So let's get into today's episode. So, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about parenting grief. Now, this is a topic that probably isn't talked about a lot. I know that when I'm online and the things that I see, I don't see a lot of people talking about how to navigate grief when it comes to children or helping children to navigate their grief. And honestly, I don't have all the answers. I don't know the right or wrong way to parent grief or to help my children navigate grief, but it's something that I'm continuing to learn every day. Every day it's something different, it's something new. But I thought it was an important topic to touch on because grief is a real thing. Grief is something guaranteed that a child will experience. So, knowing the ways to navigate it and knowing how to help your children when grief hits or grief strikes is important. At least I feel like it's important. And like I said, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what I'm doing or what I've done is right or wrong. I'm just I'm just hoping that it is. Like I'm just really hoping that it is the right thing. But I just wanted to share with you guys kind of what our experience right now today is with grief. And I wanted to share an article that I have found with some tips on how to parent grief and how to help your children through it. So I wanted to go over it with you guys. So hopefully you find some use and helpfulness in it if you're a parent right now that is wondering like how do I get my child through this period of grief. Hopefully this helps because we're going through it together. We're going to be reading this article together and going through the tips together. So hopefully it helps all of us. Amen. So just to give a little context, if you are not aware, I did lose my husband 2.5 years ago. And also, 5 months after that, my brother passed away. And just recently, in April, my grandmother passed away. So, the last couple years has been very rough for me and my family in a lot of different ways, but most recently with my son Solomon, he has been going through these bouts of grief. And it came to a head before school let out. It was like a couple weeks before school let out. When there was an incident at school that centered around his grief. He asked me not to say what it was specifically, so I'm honoring his wishes and not saying specifically, what happened. But it did prompt me to have to go to the school and ultimately seek outside help for my son, like a therapist for someone for him to talk to. And that sucked. And not because of anything that he did. It just sucks because I really felt like I was getting my footing when it came to this grief thing and helping them navigate their grief with losing their father, losing their uncle, and losing their great grandmother. I really thought that I had my footing when it came to that. And I didn't know what I was doing, if what I was doing was right, but I just knew that, this is the only thing I know. But it just sucks because now it left me with feelings of like feeling inadequate. Like I'm not a good enough mom. I'm not doing enough to make sure my kids are okay. I didn't notice some of the signs that would have indicated that my son was suffering internally. I didn't know. And because of the fact that I missed it, I was getting really down on myself. I'm like, how could I have missed this? Like, I, I'm I'm a self-proclaimed great mom, and like, how could I have let this slip by? And that's just what I was thinking. And now, after thinking about it and, talking with others about it, like, it doesn't make me a bad mom that I missed the signs. And and it doesn't make me a bad parent because I don't know how to get my son through this season of grief that he's feeling right now. But I'm here and I'm willing to learn and I'm open to whatever. And honestly, whatever he wants from me, whatever it is, I'm willing to do it. And another thing that really sucked about this was that when I did sit my son down and I talked to him and I was like, "Are you comfortable talking to me?" Because I felt that was really important to get on the table. I was like, "Son, are you even comfortable talking to me about how you feel and what's going on in your head?" And he said, "Sometimes." And I'm like, "Okay." And I didn't really want to press the issue more because he was giving me like very short answers. And but long story short, he's missing his dad and he's missing his uncle, and he is missing his grandma, and he feels lots of different feelings about each of them and how each of them passed away. And from the way that he explains it to me, it's just some days he gets very sad and he cannot stop crying. Sometimes he can hold his tears back, but other times he just can't. And I guess at school, this was one of those times where he just couldn't, and he had lots of feelings and lots of emotions. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now. And like I said, I was definitely feeling like I dropped the ball as a parent, but as we're going through this together, I'm having to encourage myself and let myself know that no, Joy, you did not drop the ball. You are a great parent. You do everything for your kids plus more. And it's just grief is tricky. It can be tricky sometimes, and especially with children, you never know what's going on in their minds. They could be one way and outwardly show you something, but internally it can be going crazy in there. And that's honestly how I would describe like my what's going on with my son. Like outwardly, like he's normal to me. You know, he's doing all the normal things he normally does, and he's talking like he normally talks. He's doing all the things, but on the inside, it's chaos. And that's not something that we could see unless it's being outwardly projected. But in this case with my son, it outwardly projected all at once, and then it like kind of just blew up. So what I do want to say is if you are a parent who is navigating grief with your child, like alongside your child, just know that the road is not easy. There is no quick fix. There is no magic wand that you can wave over your child and they just feel better. It's going to be a lifelong thing just because of the fact that when someone dies, and especially if it's someone that's close to your child, it's going to change their life just like it changes your life. So don't go into it expecting that, oh, I just got to give them all the love and support and they'll be okay, because that's not what they need all the time. And that's what I'm learning too. And I feel, and I will be honest and say I made that mistake too. And like, if I give all my kids the love and support and I'm here and, guiding them, then they should be okay. But apparently my son needs more than that. And I have to have enough self-awareness to recognize that I may not be what my son needs. And that's okay. That's okay. And I need to have enough self awareness to know when I need to seek help, seek other resources to help him. It can't be like, well, what mom wants and what mom says and mom knows best. Like, it just can't be that way. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into this article that I found. And I thought it was really cool. And like I said, that's why I wanted to share with you guys, because I'm in the same boat. I'm learning right alongside you guys. So hopefully these tips that I found can help us as a collective, help us to help our children navigate their grief and kind of understand what's going on in their minds and their thoughts, and help them to sort the things out so that way we can move forward on a path to get them whatever help they need, whatever guidance they need, whether it's from us or another family member or an outside source like a therapist or someone they could talk to, a counselor. So the the article that I found is on the Mayo Clinic Health System website, and it's called Supporting Children Through Times of Grief. It was published on December 2nd, 2022. And so I'm just gonna read kind of like the summary, and then I'm gonna jump into the tips that it gives. So, as parents and caregivers of children, it can be challenging to see them struggle or feel hurt, particularly if you're uncertain how to best support them. Regardless of age, grief and loss touches everyone's lives and affects each differently. As adults attending to your own loss, you can be overwhelmed with the emotional and sometimes physical pain that accompanies the grieving process. The healing journey can start with support from the presence, guidance, and encouragement of family and friends. That's a word right there. Like everything this article just said in them couple sentences, like, is true. Like it's so, so true. So I'm going to skip down to the part of the article where it says ways to support a grieving child. And I will have this article linked in the show notes and in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. So that way you can reference it yourself. And if you're looking for a place to start, I think that this article is a great place to start. So, ways to support a grieving child include having a consistent and regular routine, eating well, staying hydrated, doing physical activity, and getting good sleep are vital. So, this is interesting, right? Because this is something typically that we overlook, especially in our own grief. I know that when my husband first died, I had stopped eating. It was hard for me to eat. I lost a couple pounds because I was so wrapped up in the grief and the loss, like I was not nurturing myself. And it's important to keep your routine and keep doing the things that you are doing. Of course, some things may change little by little, but I know for me, it was super important for me to keep the routine and do my best to take care of myself. And at the same time, make sure my kids are taken care of and make sure they're taking care of themselves because not getting enough sleep, not eating right, that all affects like your brain, how you function throughout the day, how you think. So that makes perfect sense. So and that's probably something that we probably sleep on and we shouldn't sleep on it. Like make sure our kids have their routines still in place as much as can be, right? Because especially if they lose a parent, then that may change morning routines or after school routines, midday routines. So that those type of things may change, but it's still important to keep a routine however you can. So I wholeheartedly agree with that tip. Being patient and gentle, not to add additional stress. Amen. Listen, amen. I, for me, I do my best to make a peaceful environment for my kids. An environment that's not chaotic, an environment that doesn't add additional stress. And I am one of those parents that I believe that when your child's day first starts, you shouldn't be fussing at them, yelling at them, rushing them. I really feel like those type of things, like if we always wake up in the morning fussing at our kids before school and we always have to yell at them, that really does set the tone for their day. And being patient and gentle is not a bad thing. Like gentle parenting is not bad. I'm a gentle parent and my kids still, with me being a gentle parent, they don't run over me, they don't walk over me, they still respect me. There's definitely a way to go about it, but yeah, just being patient and gentle, not to add additional stress, especially through their time of grief. And I don't think, I think when it comes to grief, I don't think that it's fair to it I don't think that it's fair to say that a child's grief is more or less than the next person's grief because they're a child or because they're age. Grief is different. It shows up differently for everyone, and I don't think any one person's grief is more or less than the other. It's just grief, and we're all experiencing it differently. So it's going to be super important to be patient, like even more so. Allowing for moments of connection and assisting in the expression of grief. Allowing for moments of connection and assisting in the expression of grief. So I would say that this is probably an area that an an area that I can improve on, allowing them those moments of connection and maybe saying like, how are you feeling? Like, is there anything you want to talk about? Do you have any questions? Or if they're experiencing or having an outward reaction or emotion to the grief, like letting it play out, not trying to stifle it or telling them like, no, no, like don't do that right now, you know, giving them that space in order to express it. Providing opportunities to remember and talk about the person who has died. That's important. Don't close up on them and don't shut the door to conversation. I know that with my kids, whenever they want to talk about their dad or their uncle or their grandma or whatever they want to discuss, whatever questions they have, I make sure to stop everything and be a part of the conversation, be present. Because one thing that I made sure of in every instance was that I did not mince my words, and I clearly communicated to them whatever answer that they were seeking, because I don't want it to ever come across from me that I'm confused about how I feel about what happened, like none of that. So I always made sure to, if they ask me something, I'm not on my phone preoccupied, like I stop what I'm doing to address them and let them know what it is and what it isn't, or whatever questions that they may have, because it's important for us to bring clarity for our kids. Like, this is a very confusing time, it's stressful, so it's going to be important for us as parents to bring that clarity, and we can only do that if, we have a level of clarity ourselves, so that way we can convey that to our kids. Listening without judgment or adverse reaction. It's going to take that self-awareness, y'all. You got to be self-aware. You have to be able to read the room. You got to know your kids. Like, it's not the time for strong emotional reactions. It's just a time for listening, for guidance. We're not judging, because, like I said, everyone's grief is different. So with our children, they could be experiencing grief totally different than how we are. So it's probably for the best to be non-judgmental and just listen. Listen. That's all we got to do is listen. Offering reassurance, teach your children to breathe through their feelings. That breathe through the feelings thing is something that I'm learning myself, and trying to breathe through how I feel, or in times where I feel intense anxiety or I feel the grief coming and I'm about to cry, like really just breathe. And a lot of us forget to breathe. And when we forget to breathe, that's when, like, as far as our internal nervous system, all hell breaks loose. So, teaching our children how to breathe through their emotions, I think is important. That's a good call out. I like that. Incorporate mindfulness to notice their feelings right now and let them know it's okay to name the emotions and not fight them. That's a word right there. That's a word. Incorporate mindfulness to notice their feelings right now and let them know it's okay to name the emotions and not fight them. Ooh, that's a bar. I love that. I love that tip. Encourage children to notice how the feelings will come and go, sometimes intense and sometimes mild. And this is kind of where Solomon is right now. It comes and goes, and the intensity is different every time. And with the different intensities, it yields a different reaction from him. So sometimes he'll just want to cry. Sometimes he'll want to write a letter. Sometimes his reaction will be more extreme. but at the same time it's coming differently. Like it's his grief is never the same twice. It's always different. So making sure that they know when to notice it or how to notice it, and to be able to communicate that. So I would love to, I would love to, for Solomon to communicate with me and let me know, like, my grief is high today, mom. Like, it's high. Or my grief is just mid today. Like, I'm just mad today. I would love for him to be able to communicate that to me, because that'll let me know how to proceed throughout the day with him. Because maybe me trying to get him to come outside and do an activity with us, maybe that's too much for him at that time. But I wouldn't know that, unless he was able to express to me his level of grief that he's feeling that day. So that's pretty important. I love that call out too. And the last support tip is creating outlets for healing through time outdoors, arts and crafts, writing or journaling, music, watching a movie, or spending time with friends. So basically, making that space for them to heal with other activities. And with Solomon, he's gotten into building action figures. So he purchases these little action figures. They're about like maybe like this big. He purchases them on Amazon, and they're all disassembled. So all the parts, that it's not an action figure that's already put together. So he has to follow the instructions to put the action figure together. And I didn't even know that that was something that he was into, but he's actually pretty good at it. And the action figures are pretty cool. Like, they're just these little hand, like as big as, the palm of your hand. And it gives him something to focus on. And then once he's done with it, it gives him a sense of accomplishment and pride. So, that's something that he does. But also too, I do try to engage them and promote like off screen time. So we will go outside, we'll go for walks, we'll do all that stuff. But yeah, these are some really good tips. And again, I will have the link to this article linked down in the show notes, and as well as in the description box on YouTube. But this is a good start. This is really a good start, especially if you're not sure on how to navigate grief with your child and how to help them through their grief. But above all else, if I would definitely say too, if you need to seek professional help from a therapist, a counselor, a doctor, whatever you got to do for your child and whatever you feel is going to be best, because like I said, this is going to be a lifelong thing. And as their mom, as much as you want to do and as much as you want to be there and do all the things for your child, the reality is that they may not need you or want you to do all the things. You may not be what they need, and that's okay. But that's not to say that they won't need you at all. You know what I'm saying? They will need you. It's just not all the time, especially when it comes to grief. So just having that self awareness to know that my child is going through something, and nothing that I'm doing is helping, or I can't figure out a way to get through to my child, and I may need some additional support. Just having that self awareness and knowing that can help your child tremendously. It can. And knowing when it's time to, as their mom, step in, or when it's time to step out and, let others help, accept the help from others, or seek help from others. And so, one last thing before I end the episode and wrap this up, I just wanted to read the last part of this article. It says, grieving isn't about pushing the pain away or getting through it fast and moving on. Grief is a natural and necessary part of healing. When you honor grief, you heal and grow through grief. You can't take away your child's pain, but it can be an opportunity to teach them to grieve in a good way and watch them learn to heal. That's so amazing. I love that. So, I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it was encouraging. So, if you're parenting a child through grief right now, I hope that this article encourages you to keep going, to try some different things, to try some of the tips that are in this article, and just know that you're not alone. Just know that there's lots of parents, including myself, that are helping their children navigate through the grief, and it's hard sometimes. That it is hard sometimes. I will not BS you. Like, it's hard. But if we just try, if we show up for our kids with the best intentions and we do our part to help support them, it can make it a little bit easier. So, with that being said, mamas, I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at motherhood_is_ghetto. I post episode clips there. I post me and the kids there so you can keep up with us. And don't forget to like and share this podcast and share with anyone who you may think will find it helpful. So that way, algorithm will know to send it and push it to other people like you. Amen. Also, too, don't forget the Empowered Mama Planner and the Motherhood is Ghetto Self-Care Journal are both available on Amazon for you to purchase. And lastly, follow the show. Follow the show on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the videos, share them, all the things. I so appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you for tuning in today. And until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. And follow me on Instagram at motherhood_is_ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.